Should be live in a sec. It's the usual stuff. This window note. Ah, there you go. We'll do Twitter quickly first, just in case someone wants to join in. Post was sent. We'll do a quick one on LinkedIn. Okay, we're done with that. Should be streaming okay. It's my analytics if anyone is interested. So we have this file. Yesterday we were essentially opening day 1 of this dataset. So it's on iEEG.org. I think anyone can register and view it like this. There's also Python and MATLAB scripts for actually downloading this data. We have an app, an application that looks like this. Hopefully it loads. Right. So it's scrolling through the DEG signal. Nothing special, but to correct and update a few things, first of all, our channels. There is a left and right intracranial EEG, 8 electrodes on the left, 8 electrodes on the right, like indicated here, but I couldn't find any documentation on it. The documentation they have here is pretty basic, doesn't have any details. There should be some sort of metadata somewhere, but I couldn't actually find it. I'll have another look later. But an easy fix would be, well, first of all, we want to look at the seizure. So this is the first annotation event, and it's at this many seconds into the recording. You can see it's quite a long seizure event. It's the first event, and that happened essentially 6 days after the recording have started. So in here we're calculating the time. So it's that second, turning it into days. It gives us 7 days and this many seconds. So that means that we actually have to look at a different file, which we can let's do the file name. It's in the same folder in a way. Just do file name there. Delimiter white space. Yes, let's just bring it up there for a sec. So just a few logistical arranging bits. We'll load it into GPT soon because I wouldn't know how to continue this. Check if it's still working. Not to begin with, it's also loading in a smaller window. I don't know why. Then it opens up. Obviously, it's the styling or something that is taking effect only after the window is being loaded. So I have to fix that. Now this bit, I want to do day 7. It's the same file name. See if I can load day 7. Right, there's something there. So we want to load day 7, but we also want to load it at that following second. Is this the... Oops. Started at 10 seconds there. Right, so this number should be... Oops. Where is that number? I lost it. Yeah, 31636 is the number. Oh, come on. I keep forgetting. Control-Shift-C instead of Control-C. That's the number that we have. In theory, we did everything correctly. This is where the seizure should be. Right. So there's something there. Looks like it's starting a bit prior. So I don't know what's up with that. Just give a few seconds. This looks like the end of it. I'm displaying 60 seconds. And check. Just check this side by side. It's that bit, must be this bit here. So that's right channel. Right, so they shifted for me. It's not why this window, so not a open full length. Where's that stuff? Yeah, I have that right of 4. It's this one. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth. All right, because this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's correct. So it'd be right of 4. So we have them as right and then left. So they're like reversed. If I keep them in the same order, the names should change the names. So there should be a right or 1 is number 8. Let's make a comment here. Time column. So about here somewhere. Can make some comments that so 0 to 15 would be 1 to 16. Plus 1. Then, so those would be prompts in a second. And the labels, again. So, but the looks of it, Gen 1 is um, 8 be, can't copy that, channels. So this would be right or 1. Channel names. And I would check. So this one, 8 is right of 1. We have right of 5. Right of 5 must be, can't really tell. Right of 5. There's something. Say right of 8. Now the other thing is, this actually indicates that the rate is not 400, but this weird number, which over time might make quite a bit of difference. So how important that is. Just reload. Oops. Must be an integer. So this number, n rows, number of rows. Okay, let's just keep it 400. Make a comment that it's there's a more precise version of it. We calculate time calculation. Three 1 636. Just make it 3. So I will just roughly have the same thing displayed. My screen. Need the app running for the Flask to work. It's weird. Should be like more like 399.5. But when we're taking rows, do we? Yeah, if we take there, what difference would it make if it's points per second? So it's essentially missing data point every now and then. So if we have that 3.99 there, this one can be we'll just fix it in a sec. $15, $16 to get the names correctly. There's not too many of them, so we might as well do it manually. So in theory, right now this doesn't make sense. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what this one would be? It's 16. Something. Something isn't right. down a notch for like 20 seconds, 10 seconds or so. Load this. Takes some time. Okay, this is where the seizure is. Let's check. What's that number meant to be seconds, but it's actually still still seconds. It should be a day number. So I'm just trying to do several things at once, trying to figure out which so right to one is the one with the deep, so it must be this one here. This is number 8. So I have I'll fix this a bit later. Pop this the chat. This tool is not still available, but should be available shortly. Once we finish this update, we'll probably publish it on the website. It's in the link is in the chat. I'm just trying to sort out the if channel 8 is right or 1. All right, no, that is correct because it actually should be was it so we need to change 1 to 16. I mean, does it even matter? No, it probably doesn't matter. Yeah, we can get rid of that for a sec. So it should be 0, 1. Right, 15. This will be in theory left 08. We'll double check. Right, 15. Why the plotted in a weird way? Check left. So where the seizure onset is in that green channel is 02. Here it should be 7, 8. And onset is on 02, which is left 03. Let me check. Yeah, onset is more like so what the onset is more like left of 5 or even. Okay, now I'm having doubts. Okay, first of all, we have the seizures actually starting earlier. So I don't know, my times don't match as per usual. Let's go 10, display now 10 seconds prior. Not even go. Right of 5 should be, no, can be. Let's change the names. Put it in the same chat.
Points underscore per underscore second, and the skip rows. It uses plotly express to create a line plot of the data. It configures the x-axis range and enables a range slider. It renders the plot in an HTML template, plot, HTML, using Flask.
Okay, that's great. Change the channel names.
To change the channel names, you can rename the columns of the data frame before plotting. Here's how to modify the relevant part of your code to rename the columns. Replace this line with these lines. These lines rename the columns to the channel names you provided and then append the type column. After making this change, the channel names will be used in the polyfigure as well. So the labels on the plot will correspond to these channel names.
Change the names. Yes. And why aren't they in order? Any idea? In what order the channels are displayed on the chart?
In your plotly express line plot, the channels will be displayed in the order they appear in the data frame columns. After renaming the columns, the order will be left underscore 01, left underscore 02.
How do you do? Left 01 colors. It's right away. What? You need to reverse the order. It seems that the order on the chart is reversed. The bottom waveform should be on top.
If the order of the channels in the plot is reversed and you want the bottom waveform to be at the top, you can reverse the data frame columns before plotting. This will adjust the order in which the channels are displayed. Here's how you can do it. After renaming the columns, reverse the order of the data frame columns excluding the type column. Plot the data as usual. Here's a code snippet to reverse the data frame columns. Insert this code snippet right after you rename the columns and before plotting the data. Here's how it fits into your existing code. By doing this,
Yeah, but why is it happening in the first place? It just indicates that something is potentially wrong. Left one is channel 0. Is channel 0 displayed on top?
in Plotly, by default, the lines are drawn in the order the columns appear in the data frame. In your case, after renaming the columns, the first column will be left underscore 01, which corresponds to chan 0. Therefore, left underscore 01 will be the first to be plotted. However, whether it appears on the top or bottom of the graph depends on the Y values of the data points for each channel. If you are applying an offset to separate the channels visually, as you do in your code, the channel with the highest offset will appear at the top. In your code, you are incrementing the offset with each channel. With this logic, the last channel, right underscore 08, or chan 15 feet, will have the highest offset and will appear at the top of the graph, while left underscore 01, or chan 0 feet, will have no offset and will appear at the bottom.
What's this offset business? Okay, now I get it. Can we offset to negative axis, towards negative axis? So the first channel appears on top.
Certainly, you can modify the offset logic to make the first channel appear at the top by applying a negative offset. You can change the loop that applies the offset to subtract instead of add. Here's how to modify that part of your code. In this modified loop, the offset is subtracted, and it decreases as you go down the list of channels. This way, left underscore 01, or chan 0 feet, will have the highest least negative offset, and it will appear at the top of the graph. Feel free to integrate this change into your existing code and run it locally to see how it affects the plot.
Go up here. So this darker blue channel left 01 should be on top. We regenerate this, it's wrong.
Certainly, you can modify the offsetting logic so that the first channel appears at the top of the graph by adding a negative offset. You'll have to adjust the existing data frame manipulation code to accomplish this. Here's how you can modify the relevant part of your code.
This looks more like it.
This modification will subtract a negative offset from each channel, starting from the last one. As a result, the first channel, left_01, or chan 0 feet, will appear at the top of the graph, and the last channel, right_08, or chan 15 feet, will appear at the bottom.
Right, this is more like it. Why? Yeah, this interface is a bit odd. Right, so this is right of 1. Then we have right of 2. This red one with 2 notches is right of 4. That's correct. And this one here, the green one, should be right of 5. That's right. And this one should be left of 5. Okay, now it's correct. Okay. We are in business. Can double check with this artifacts as well, just quickly. Yeah, scrolling in this thing. Right, so that's there. We have another one here. It's this bit here. There's nothing remarkable. So we're displaying this seizure at the moment. Okay, let's keep going from here. I want to make some improvements, well, quite a lot of improvements. So we don't need this because we have the names there. The window scaling when loading the page doesn't seem correct. Let's just see what it says without me prompting anymore.
If a polyfigure doesn't scale correctly within the app window when the page loads, you may need to adjust the layout configurations. You already have some layout settings in your code, but you might want to add or adjust a few more to make the scaling more responsive. Here are a few changes you can consider. Add width and height layout parameters, setting them to auto to make the figure adapt to the window size. Use JavaScript to trigger a resize event, ensuring that the polygraph resizes whenever the window is resized. Here's how you can modify the relevant part of your code to handle the layout. And in your HTML, you can add a script to trigger the resize event. This will make sure that the polygraph is resized automatically when the browser window is resized. If you encounter any issues with this setup, let me know, and we can look into further debugging steps.
Setting script, I have a JavaScript file. This has to be in the plot HTML. Do we actually need this JSON script for Plotly? It's been working without it. Do I need changes to the following code?
Your existing HTML template is fairly minimal and already includes the required meta tags for responsive design. To make sure the polyfigure resizes automatically when the window size changes, you can add a JavaScript snippet to handle the resizing event. You can modify your existing HTML template as follows. In this modification, I've added the Poly JavaScript library and a JavaScript snippet that listens for the Windows resize event to adjust the polyfigure accordingly. This should help ensure that your polyfigure scales appropriately with the window size. You can include this script at the end of your HTML body to make sure it runs after the page and polyfigure have loaded.
I'll give it a go. Because the scaling is pretty bad as it is. Right. Oops. Oh, come on. If it can quickly fix this error.
I apologize for the oversight. You're correct. Plotly's layout configuration for width and height only accepts numerical values and not string values like auto. To make the polyfigure responsive, you can rely on CSS to control the size of the container and then let Plotly adapt to that. You've already set auto size equals true in your Python code, which should make the polyfigure fit into its container. To make the container responsive, you can modify your CSS, style.css. Here's an example CSS rule to make the plot container responsive. By setting the width and height of plot container to 100%, you're making the container fill its parent element. The polyfigure inside it should then auto-size to fit this container. In your HTML, you already have. This should work well with the CSS rule. Keep the auto-size equals true option in your Python code to make sure the polyfigure fits into this container. If you haven't yet added any CSS, you can create a file named style.css in the static folder, as per Flask standard structure, and add the above CSS code to it. Your existing CSS already seems fairly well suited for a responsive design. You've set up plot container to take up 100% of its parent width and height, which should make it as large as its parent container. The polyfigure should then auto-size to fit this container, since you've set auto-size equals true in your Python code. Additionally, the iframe is set to occupy 100% of the plot container, which is good for making sure that the polyfigure fills up the entire container. If you're still experiencing scaling issues, you may want to debug the following. Check if any parent container of plot container is restricting its size. Make sure that the poly auto-size equals true setting is correctly applied. Your current setup looks good for achieving a responsive design. If you're facing specific issues, could you please describe them in more detail?
Yeah, it just generally doesn't look good. Yeah, I want to do quite a bit of it. Want to remove, probably remove background. Let's pop it in another window for a sec. Window sizing still not great, especially when loading the page the first time. The window size is different compared to when you move the slider. Also, there is some text above the chart that is not shown correctly, seems hidden. Also, can we remove the background from the chart itself.
When it comes to issues with the window sizing, especially upon first loading, it might be related to the way the poly chart initializes. Sometimes, the initial size might not be correctly inferred, especially if the chart renders before the rest of the DOM is ready. Here are some things you can try. JavaScript trigger. Add a small delay before triggering the resize event. This ensures the chart has enough time to load properly. JavaScript copycode set timeout function. Plotly, plots, resize, document, get element by ID, plot. 300 milliseconds delay. Adjust the layout. If some text or labels are not displayed correctly, consider adjusting the margin or padding in your CSS for plot container. Plotly styling. You can remove the background of the plotly chart using the layout settings in your Python code. Here's how you can update your HTML and Python code. Try these modifications and see if they address your issues. Feel free to adjust the specific settings to better match your needs.
Where's the JavaScript? Do we have JavaScript? No. Why not? That's a bit odd. We also need prompts. Need a prompts file. We only got 11 minutes in this stream, so better be quick. We had prompts for his previous tools. By the way, yeah, they still need some more work, but iEEG Gen 2 should have some good prompts combined. Yeah, we like this one. Do we have where's the thing gone? That yeah, by the way, to sort out my mobile, the background here wasn't working correctly on the page. I don't know why. I have to check. Can we generate? Just call this app.js. No, wait. It's prompts from another. Great.
Certainly. Below is the complete Python Flask app code integrating all the suggested changes.
Okay. It's not what I asked for, but it's because it's called app. Called EEG.
And your updated HTML plot HTML would be
It's just generating all the code, which is unusual. Normally it doesn't have any missing bits, does it? That doesn't look like.
the CSS style.css remains the same as you provided earlier. This complete code includes the adjustments for initial window sizing, hidden text, and removing the background color from the chart.
62. Something. Something's missing. Why? There shouldn't be anything missing. I got rid of that line, that's okay. It's the same. It looks legit, just made some minor corrections. Yeah, and we won't be working with that day one anymore. Could probably delete it from this folder. We have it in the archive. So we got 5 minutes left. HTML. It's loading the CDN, the CSS. That's correct. Script. Set timeout. Timeout. Do we need a delayed resize trigger? Something to do. Yeah, the resizing the screen. Status CSS remains the same. Do we have a JavaScript file? Do we need a JavaScript file? Pretty sure we do. But do we have?
No, you don't necessarily need a separate JavaScript file for the functionality you're seeking. The JavaScript code I provided can be included directly in your HTML file within the less than script greater than tags, as shown in the updated plot HTML example. However, if your project starts to involve more complex JavaScript functionality, it might be beneficial to separate the JavaScript code into its own file for better organization and maintainability. For the current scope of your project, though, keeping the JavaScript code within the HTML should be sufficient.
Sorry, I forgot my microphone off. Anyway, but that's what the tool does look like so far. We have a seizure there is starting on rebel right. I think it's staying mainly on the right side of the brain. Yeah, we want to have different, so we're replacing this tool just as a summary. We want these controllers be able to hide and unhide certain channels. Sure, we should be able, yeah, to do it. Just clicking on that, so we don't need this bit like we had previously. And we want to be able to split the channels based on off, overlaid. Off should be overlaid. Right, want to play button. Maybe not. Slider should be fine because play button overloads my server. Because if you play and forget, that's not needed. Try select overlay options. Change how the traces are grouped. The options are off default, so there will be overlaid one on top of another, grouped separately for left and right channels, and all overlaid on top of one another. Off will be like the current state. And separation value, so that's the amount separation on screen. We do window size in here can be changed by moving those around, so we don't need it. Separation.
To implement a feature that allows the user to select overlay options for the traces, you can add a drop-down menu in your HTML and then update the plotly chart based on the selected option. The drop-down menu can have 3 options. Off, default, traces are displayed as they are. Group by side, left and right channels are grouped separately. Overlay all channels are overlaid on top of each other. You can use JavaScript to update the chart when the user selects an option from the drop-down menu. Since the chart is initially rendered on the server side using Flask, you'll need to use Plotly's JavaScript API to update the chart on the client side. Here's how you can implement this. Add the drop-down menu and update the JavaScript. No changes are needed in the Python code for this feature. The chart updates are handled entirely on the client side. This is just a basic example. You'll need to fill in the layout update object based on how exactly you want to group or overlay the traces. The Plotly JavaScript API provides a variety of options for updating chart layouts. You can find more details in the Plotly JavaScript documentation. Run this code locally to test the functionality. Let me know if you need further assistance.
Okay, so it's suggesting we can do it all on the client side, which is good. How about the amount of separation? Separation between channels. Waveforms on screen. Can this be done on client side as well? To set the amount of separation between channels waveform on screen. Right.
Yes, you can adjust the amount of separation between channel waveforms directly on the client side using Plotly's JavaScript API. Specifically, you can use Plotly update to change the Y values of the traces based on the selected separation value. You can add a slider or an input field in your HTML to let the user set the amount of separation, sep_value. Here's how to extend your existing plot HTML to include this feature.
Right, so it's all just HTML.
In this example, I've added an HTML input of type range to act as a slider. The JavaScript listens for changes to this slider. When the slider is moved, it updates the Y values of all traces in the Plotly chart to adjust their separation. The sep_value is subtracted from the Y values of each trace, multiplied by the index of the trace. You can adjust this logic to fit your specific needs. Run this code locally to test the functionality. Let me know if you need further clarification or assistance.
Yes, we can just regenerate the plot HTML if you can. If it's not too much trouble.
HTML file with all the features integrated. Drop down for trace overlay options and a slider for adjusting the separation between channel waveforms.
We also, after this, need to generate all the prompts.
This HTML file includes a dropdown for selecting the overlay options for the traces, a slider for adjusting the separation between the channel waveforms, JavaScript code to handle changes to both the dropdown and the slider, updating the Plotly plot accordingly. You can run this code locally to see how it works. Feel free to let me know if you have any more questions or need further clarifications.
Still have the text hidden there to have a description. Overlay options. Separation value doesn't actually work. Group by side doesn't work. Overlay all. So this should be just all the channels overlaid on top of one another. No. It's a good start. Should we also have it at the Can we have the overlay options and the separation value at the bottom of the page? Also, it seems like those controls are not actually updating the chart. How do we fix that? I should say bye-bye. See you in a bit. See you next time.
Certainly, you can move the controls to the bottom